A couple of days ago, NYSC was on top of the trends on Twitter, Nigeria. There was an interesting conversation about the relevance of the scheme, the challenges it was facing, and if it was still relevant in this day and age. There are some facts about the NYSC I bet you didn't even know about. Join me, let's unravel the facts and rumors and attempt to answer some very important questions pertaining to the NYSC. If you are in Nigeria, I'm sure it's not an unusual sight to see young people dressed in white t-shirts with the inscription NYSC boldly inscribed across them. The t-shirts are worn over army green trousers. Every year when fresh graduates are churned out of the various universities and polytechnics across Nigeria, they march out of their various institutions to undergo a mandatory service to their beloved country, Nigeria, for a year. But when exactly did this mandatory service begin? Apparently, this yearly practice dates back to the military era in Nigeria in the year 1973. Unlike some countries with compulsory military service like the United States, Brazil, Singapore, and others, the Nigerian National Youth Service Corps, NYSC for short, was not founded for young citizens to exclusively serve the military of their country. Instead, it was established for these young individuals to serve in various capacities and in the different institutions in the country. The NYSC was birthed in the aftermath of the Nigerian Civil War, which was fought from 1967 to 1970. The war, also known as the Biafran War, was fought between the federal government and a section of the population which declared its independence from Nigeria, called Biafra. As happens in every war,
would have the lives of over 100,000 soldiers and an estimated 2 million civilians, as the Nigerian government, led by General Yakubu Gowon, fought to prevent the secession of the self-proclaimed Republic of Biafra, which was led by General Chukwuemeka Odumegu Ojukwu.
There was destruction of precious lives, property, and a setback in development. The NYSC was one of the interventions established by the government to signify healing, progress, and unity in the country of Nigeria. It was established as a symbol of hope and to bring some stability to the gloomy instability that hung around the nation like a dark cloud. Is the NYSC serving its original intent? As a corps that was established several years ago, has it outlived its purpose and therefore has it become obsolete in this modern society? We will attempt to answer these questions and many more in the video. But before we get into all that, why has the NYSC been a topic of discussion in Nigeria for days? During the recent Nigerian elections in February 2023, a young man who was said to have been working as the ad hoc member for the Independent National Electoral Commission, abbreviated as the INEC, was alleged to have been murdered by an angry mob. According to the reports, the mob accused the gentleman of imprinting his thumbprint on multiple ballots in an attempt to vote several times for the then presidential candidate of the All Progressive Congress, APC, Bola Tinubu. The story purported that the individual set himself as a target to be lynched by the angry mob when he locked himself up in one of the classrooms in the polling unit for the elections. He then went on to thumbprint multiple ballot papers in a bid to increase the winning chances of Tinubu in that particular electoral area in Abuja. Now, this is where the story gets intense. Voters who had come to cast their ballots for their preferred candidate were informed of a shortage of ballot papers. Many of these voters waited for hours in anticipation of the arrival of more ballot papers for them to cast their votes. It was during this period of waiting that some of the voters spotted the corps member in the classroom with several ballot papers which already had thumbprints on them. Due to the gruesome nature of the video and YouTube's guidelines, I will not be able to show you footage of the lynching. In an interesting turn of events, the Director General of the NYSC, Brigadier Yusha Digara Ahmed, came out to debunk all reports of the death of the COPS member during the elections. According to him, no COP member was posted to work as an ad hoc in states or areas that were considered problematic and liable to chaos. The NYSC director went on to explain that 7 COPS members now enjoy insurance cover and that the organization is working hard to protect the lives of every COPS member during the period of their service. Now your guess is as good as mine. Who was lynched during the elections? Why did several news outlets and social media platforms propagate the news that he was a COP member if he wasn't? Or was he? Did the Director General of NYSC speak based on factual evidence, or did he sugarcoat the situation to water down the agitation in the general public and to bring some calm and assurance in the country? Well, the complexity of this news was potent enough to stay on the top trending list of Nigeria Twitter for a while. But who was killed by the mob? Let's try to find an answer there. The Director of Press and Public Relations of the NYSC, Eddie Megwa, brings a whole different perspective to the story. He first of all doesn't deny the fact that the man who was severely beaten by the angry mob was a COP member serving during the elections. He purported that the man did not in fact die, but was rushed to the hospital and he recuperated after that. Mr. Megwa further claimed that the whole situation happened as a result of mistaken identity and that the COP member was mistaken for someone else. According to him, the COP member was not part of the set group of individuals who had tried to rig the elections, and the actual culprits of the crime had been apprehended by the police. In his own words, indeed, a COPS member deployed to LEA Primary School, Lugbe, as an independent National Electoral Commission ad hoc staff was brutalized by an angry mob on a suspicion that he was involved in the act of thumb-printing ballot papers in favor of one of the presidential aspirants. To put issues in proper perspective, the brutalization of the COPS member was a case of mistaken identity. This was made known after an investigation by the security agencies. Interestingly, the mob action was not only reason the NYSC was trending and making waves on the social media space. The conversation began when the governor of Enugu State, Peter Emba, was accused of forging his NYSC certificate. According to claims by the Director General of the NYSC, Peter Emba had a fake NYSC discharge certificate. The director went on to say that he advised the governor to discard the certificate. This claim then suggests that the newly sworn-in governor of Enugu State did not undergo his mandatory 1-year NYSC as he had claimed. In essence, the NYSC as an organization is accusing the governor of forging his NYSC certificate. He underwent the 1-year service. It is also alleged that the governor has sued the organization as he insists that he underwent the mandatory service. Mr. Emba has cited factual misrepresentation, dishonesty, and conspiracy as the reasons for the lawsuit, and he is further seeking an amount of 20 million naira in damages. The Director General, however, claims he has not received any court suit. This delicate situation added fuel to the already raging trend on Twitter regarding the NYSC. 3 main sets of opinions sprung up in regards to the relevance of the COPS. The first group of people in general was of the view that the NYSC is still relevant today and continues to help young people in diverse ways. Tunde Omoyoyi, a Nigerian immigration consultant, tends to believe that the NYSC is of great importance. In a tweet, he spoke about the relevant role NYSC plays in an entry program in Canada. From his tweet, we can draw the conclusion that he belongs to the group that believes that the NYSC still holds relevance to this day. However, the general mood of young Nigerians about the mandatory service has alternated between disdain to utter indifference. Some have bitterly recounted some unpleasant experiences they went through during their time of service and how seemingly irrelevant it has been to their employment and standard of living after serving. These are the second group, and probably the group most citizens subscribe to. Then there are a number of people, mostly pundits, intellectuals, and politicians who are of the view that the NYSC should be maintained but revamped to make it more relevant for today's society. This stance was not birthed by the recent news concerning the mob action or the governor of Enugu State. It has always been a dormant position. The news uproar has just reignited it. Many TV and radio stations have invited panelists over to discuss the need to revamp and restructure the NYSC as a response to the changing times in order for tertiary graduates to reap the complete benefits from the program and to help curb the general indifference that has tainted the NYSC. The trends have dug into the past to re-expose some interviews and discussions on the need to abolish the COP or not. One of such discussions was an interview on the Hello Nigeria show. Izuku Chukidi was invited to voice out his thoughts on the issue. The outspoken radio and TV anchor stressed on the need for the complete restructuring and overhaul of the COPs. He passionately expounded on the fact that the COPs has to be redefined, repacked, and restructured to make the NYSC more desirable to the Nigerian youth and general population. He makes a compelling argument, I must say. Africa cannot progress without Nigeria. As the most populated country on the continent, the country represents about 20% of the population of sub-Saharan Africa. For a country with so much population on the African continent, its development and policies are extremely relevant because they greatly shape the economic dynamics of the continent at large. Obinna Nwusu, a Federal House of Representatives candidate, in a tweet argued for the retention of the COPs, stating in essence it enables young Nigerians from both the north and south to be exposed to and experience geographical areas they both haven't explored. Mr. Nwusu's sentiment is shared by many NYSC proponents, but when we look at the COPs from a wider perspective and for the purpose for which it was instituted in the first place, we can safely say that the current NYSC system has become obsolete and does not adequately meet the relevance of the modern world. The catastrophes, deaths, lynching, certificate forgeries, and many unpleasant outcomes are enough to serve as a wake-up call for the Nigerian government to make a firm decision to either scrap the NYSC entirely or completely restructure it to fit into this modern world. I'm sure a scheme aimed at entrepreneurial, AI, or technological training will go along to get the country ready for the world stage. Training avenues like these prepare fresh graduates for employment and personal development. For a country which has a high unemployment rate, the NYSC period can be geared towards training her citizens to equip themselves to find smart ways to make and multiply money. The COP in its current state doesn't seem to be doing that, but this is just my opinion. I would like to hear your thoughts on this in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more relevant updates.